topic for module number 3 is topic number 5, which is reaching your goals through budgeting, your spending or savings action plan. Our learning objective here is to achieve your financial goals through budgeting. Your financial success, class, is largely a matter of choice, not a matter of chance. Your budget is where you make money and implement, or your budget is where you make and implement those choices. It serves as a plan for spending and saving. Budgeting forces you to consider what is important in your life, what things you want to own, how you want to live, what will it take to do that, and more generally, what you want to achieve in life. So ano ba yung budget? Budget is a paper or electronic document used to record both planned and actual income and expenditures over a period of time. Some people do all their budgeting mentally, and okay naman, but it is recommended that that you need to see the actual numbers on paper. That's why ini-encourage tayo na magkaroon ng budget. May visual representation yung numbers, hindi lang nasa isip natin. 3.4 tells about financial statements and budget. So earlier we discussed about the cash flow statement and the balance sheet. Yung cash flow statement, since ito yung dito mo natitrace yung lahat ng cash in and cash out mo. So it represents the past. While yung balance sheet, it represents present. Yung present, kung ano yung meron kang assets, ano na ba yung mga liabilities mo, and your net worth. While budget focuses on the future. Kasi plano, yun yung plan mo, plan expenses, projected income and expense mo. Okay? So, creating a spending plan has 3 stages. So, meron tayong before, meron tayong before, during, and after. So, before your budgeting or spending plan, you should first set financial goals. So, when you say goals, meron tayong long-term, intermediate, and short-term goals. Long-term goals, example is to create a 5 million retirement fund by age of 60. Long-term siya kasi more than 5 years yung inyong goals. Intermediate naman, example, to have an emergency fund amounting to 6 months of income within 3 years. So kapag more than a year na yung goal mo, intermediate term goals na yon. And then short-term goals, to purchase a new phone within the year. Short-term goals are goals that you want to achieve within a year or less than a year. So if you can observe, itong mga example natin ng goals are very specific. Ganun gumawa ng financial goal. Another thing to do before your spending plan is to make and reconcile budget estimates. So before the month begins, you make and reconcile budget estimates of income and expenditures. Here, you resolve conflicting needs and wants by revising estimates as necessary. You can't have everything in life, especially this month, even though you might want it. So hindi pare-pareho yung pwede mong gastusin in a month. So you have to make a budget estimate. Budget estimate are projected amounts in a budget that one plans to receive or spend during the period covered by the budget. Begin by estimating total gross income from all sources and review take-home pay and then discretionary income. You can do budget estimate by first identifying your gross income. So in our example, the gross income is 30,000 pesos. And then after all the deductions from the company, so your take-home pay or your disposable income is 27,000 pesos. So these 27,000 pesos, dito mo ibabawas yung lahat ng mga living expenses, necessities of living. such as payment for your house, your food, and other necessities. So after mo ma-deduct yun, yung matitira, that is now your discretionary income. Discretionary income is the money left over once necessities of living are covered. It is usually the money that is really controllable. So ito yung na-adjust. Pwede yung paglaruan yung pera na to. And often makes up the bulk of money available to pay for one's variable expenses. So ano ba yung mga variable expense? So dito na iikot yung budget nyo in your discretionary income. And then after that, we have the action during budgeting period. Itong dalawa kanina, setting financial goals and making and reconciling budget estimates. You do that before your budgeting period. And then during budgeting period, you do the control, control spending. So, ano ba yung budget control? Budget controls are techniques to maintain control over personal spending so that planned amounts are not exceeded. Nakapagplano ka na ng amount. In our example, it's 15,000. So, dapat, during budgeting period, you have this, what we call as the budget controls for you not to exceed the amounts that you plan for. So what are those control methods or budget control methods? We have number one, monitor unexpected balances to control over spending. The number one method to control over spending is this one. You can accomplish this task by using a budget design that keeps a declining balance. So, pwede mong ilista for the month. Ano ba yung mga expenses mo? And then, by doing that, you can identify kung ano ba, kung saan kayong part na to overspend. Ang budget for shopping trips. Set a budget for every shopping trip and don't spend a penny more. So, kung pupunta kayo ng grocery store, punta kayo ng department store, nag-set kayo ng budget. Like, for example, 5,000 lang. So, kung yun yung budget nyo, don't exceed. Wag na kayong lalagpas dun sa budget nyo. Kasi, yun talaga yung nakakasira. Diba? Kapag sumobra kayo dun sa inalat nyo na money. Then, use subordinate budget. A subordinate budget is a detailed listing of planned expenses within a single budgeting classification. So for example, you have an outing, you have a vacation. So yung estimate nyo na magagastos for that vacation is 30,000 pesos. So ano-ano ba yung 30,000 na yun? So kailangan may subordinate budget kayo. So for example, transportation, 5,000, food, ganyan. So kailangan na specified yung amount, bakit ka nag-arrive sa 30,000 pesos. And then number 4, pay by check to record the purpose of expenditures. So if you have a checking account, you can pay through your checks in order for you to monitor your transactions. So merong mga ganito class na kapag magbabayad sila, check yung ginagamit para may record sila. But the problem with this one is that yung cheque, kada cheque na ini-issue nyo, may corresponding amount din yun. Kasi binibili nyo yun sa bank. Like for example, yung isang checkbook is worth 250 pesos. So usually, ang isang checkbook or ang isang pad, meron siyang 50 pieces. So 50, 250 divide 50. So magkano yung isa? Pesos din yun. Di ba? Sayang din. Pero may kilala ako na ganun class. Talagang minamaximize na yung check niya. Yun yung ginagamit niya para dun sa tracking of expenses. And then number 5, keep track of record transactions. Some people do not record their credit transactions until they receive a statement. It is easy to continue buying on credit without recognizing the amount of indebtedness until the statement arrives. So you should have to keep track of all your credit transaction. So, i-record nyo. Di ba merong mga receipts na binibigay? So, compile nyo yon and then have it have your own record para ma-monitor nyo kung magkano na ba yung consumption nyo sa credit card. And then number 6, justify exceptions to avoid lying to yourself. Budget exceptions occur when budget estimates in various classification differ from the actual expenditures. So, di ba nakapag-budget ka na, meron kang budget estimates, and then nagkaroon ka ng mga expenses. Yung actual expenditure nyo, hindi tumugma dun sa budget estimate. So, yun yung tinatawag na budget exceptions. Ano yung gagawin mo kapag nagkaroon ka ng budget exceptions? Justify, ano ba yun? Ano yung budget exceptions na yun? Saang part ka sumobra? Record the specific expense. Yeah, then explain. By doing that, you can control your finances. You can reduce next time other expenses in your spending plan. Lastly, using the envelope system. So, envelope system o budgeting entails placing exact amounts of money into envelopes for purposes of strict budgetary control. So, I have attached here a link for the video explaining this envelope system. So, effective to class. So, you can try doing this one, envelope system. Next is the things that you should do after or at the end of your budgeting cycle. So, in evaluation, of course, at the end of each budgeting cycle, the purpose is to determine whether the earlier steps in your budgeting efforts have worked, and it gives you feedback to use for the next budget cycle. So in evaluating budget processing, you review by comparing actual amounts with the budgeted amounts, evaluating whether your objectives were met, and assessing the success of the overall process as well as your progress toward your short and long-term goals. We have what we call as the budget variance. Budget variance is the difference between the amount budgeted and the actual amount spent or received. So kung yung budget mo is 10,000 and then the actual amount spent or received mo is only 8,000, 2,000 is your budget variance. So kapag nagkaroon ka ng mga overages on few expenditures may cause little concern if excessive variance have prevented you from achieving your objectives or making the budget balance, then take some action. So kapag sobra na, excessive na yung variance, yung budget variance, you should take some action. Some serious budget controls might have to be instituted or current controls tightened. Whatever your goals, it feels good when you make progress toward them, and it is thrilling to achieve them. If you did not achieve some of your objectives, you can determine why and then adjust your budget and objectives accordingly. It is okay to revise your plans. So, hindi naman kung ano na yung pinlano mo before, kailangan mag-stick ka na dun. So, dapat flexible tayo. The last question would be what to do with the net surplus. So, what if naman may sumobra dun sa budget nyo? So, ano ba yung mga possible things that you should do with that excess? Number 1 is to carry the surpluses forward. So, pwede mo siyang i-add up to your next budget for the next month. Then, put into a revolving savings fund. You can also add the amount to your revolving savings fund. And then, build a cash reserve. So, deposit mo siya to your savings account. Pay down credit card debt. So if you have balances, credit card balances, you can pay for that. You have a mortgage or other loan, so pwede nyo siyang pangbayad doon. And then you can also treat that as an additional investment for your retirement account. And then you can also spend that one. Spend for your other expenses.